Good afternoon. If you look at human history, only rarely human progress has happened because of the solitary genius. Most of the time, it happens because people spark off each other. Or to use the expression of author Matt Ridley, because ideas meet and mate. Ideas have sex, and they produce other alternative, more developed, better ideas. That they go on to produce, yet again, more ideas. And there's a lot of idea sex going on right now in the world, thanks particularly to the internet. But there could be more. And that question of how can we help ideas circulate, spread, disseminate, meet and mate, and create better ideas and possibly inflect change, how can we do that is really at the core of what we try to do at TED, is our daily interrogation. What mechanisms can we put in place to help with that? And we do that in many ways. Most people know TED because of the conferences or because of the TED.com website. Actually, there are many other parts in TED. In the last few years, we have started a fellowship. We have started an annual award, the TED Prize. We work with broadcasters under the TED Open TV project. We are heavy users of any possible online platform you can imagine. And all this comes together into one intention, the intention to create a platform for spreading ideas. That's what TED is an attempt to create a global platform for spreading good thinking, for bringing out ideas wherever they are, and send them around as far as possible. And we've been doing this for a few years now, and in the process of doing so, we have taken some steps, and we have learned a few things, learned a few mechanisms on helping ideas spread, and I wanted to share 3 of them with you today, using a little bit TED as a case study on how can we help ideas disseminate. And of course, the first step is about access. It's about making possible for groups of people who cannot access a specific idea, in our case, the TED videos, the ideas of our speakers, to get to them, lowering the barriers to access. If you went to the TED website just 18 months ago, you would have found this page. It says, "Riveting talks by remarkable people free to the world." And the talks were there, and they were free, but they were not to the world, because they were all in English, of course. If you go to the same site now, you find an additional line in the menu, and if you click on that, you get a list of 77 or 78, changes every day, languages. That means that for each one of those languages, there is at least one video on the website, and for most of them, dozens or hundreds, with the relevant subtitles. You see the most populars are Spanish, Portuguese, and Chinese, but German is not doing that bad. But you also see that there are languages like Swahili and Urdu and Farsi and Arabic. No Swiss German, no Romansh for now. But I'm sure somebody here will take the challenge. So this means that if you don't speak English well enough to listen to James Cameron telling the story of how he became the guy who did Avatar, well, now you can actually listen to him tell the story and then read the subtitles in English. You can even actually open a full transcript and read the text. And those may seem very easy, simple, pedestrian mechanisms, but actually they're very important. Because if your English isn't good enough, well, those are the subtitles for you. If you don't have the time to watch the whole 80 minutes talk, you can scan through the text. And because it's text, Google and Bing and the others can index it very easily, so it's easier to find. So these are all steps, very easy steps, but important steps, to lower the barrier to access to, in this case, James's ideas, including in Swahili and Urdu and all the other languages I mentioned before. So you may wonder how we do this, because we have hundreds of talks up on the site, and we are talking about dozens of languages and adding more languages every day, and the reality is we don't do it. We let the community do it. We launched this about 18 months ago, and we went out to the TED community, and basically we said, well, if we set up the mechanisms for you to translate these talks, would you do it? Would you help us bring them to your community? And we were overwhelmed with the response. Thousands of translators, 4,000 something around the world, are now working on bringing TED videos to their community by creating subtitles of an incredible high quality. People like Judith and Wolf here who translated this talk. And of course, we have mechanisms in place to check the quality, and the quality is really good. So lowering the barriers to access is one way to help ideas spread. The second one is about creating spaces for people to engage with an idea that has been inspiring them. Many of us will leave here today and say, I've heard many interesting speeches, I've heard great things, great stories, but then what happens with these ideas? Do they remain here on the stage? Are they lost somewhere? Well, for some of those ideas, what we try to do is to create a space around them where people who are interested and inspired and willing to help in making that idea a reality, making it happen, can do so. And that's a TED Prize. So a TED Prize is a prize we give once a year to remarkable people, based partially on the past achievements, but mostly on the future vision, on the potential to inflect change in the future. And what they get is some money, $100,000, but that's not really the prize. The prize is that they get invited to come to TED, to give a speech, and to express what we call a TED Prize wish. Basically, put an idea, a vision, an initiative, a project on the table and ask the community, those in the room and those watching on video, help me make this wish true. And because the community of TED is made of people like you, people who are curious souls, who have access to skills, resources, knowledge, contacts, technologies, who are ready to engage, interesting things happen around these ideas where a space is created to engage with them. Let me just give you one example. Neil Turok is a British physicist. He came to TED as a winner of the TED Prize in 2008, and he gave this fantastic speech about a school in Cape Town called AIMS. What they do there is they take mathematically and scientifically gifted African kids, and they bring them up to the level where they can go to the best universities. It's an amazing success story. And Neil told the story with lots of details and personal touches, and then asked the room, well, I would like you, and this is my wish, my prize, I would like you to help me duplicate this model for this school in a dozen other African countries. And people stood up and offered support of any kind, big and small, local and general. And the result is that 2 years later, 2 of those schools are already open in 2 other countries, and others are in the pipeline. And you see that it's not a small project, it's a rather ambitious project. To give you an idea of other projects that came out of this approach, Sylvia Earle, an oceanographer, asking for help in creating big protected areas in the oceans. Karen Armstrong, a religious scholar, asking for support in drafting and getting approved and accepted a charter for compassion, a document defining the common ground between and among religions. Or Larry Brilliant asking for support in creating a global network of early alert in case of major health or environmental disasters and emergencies. So you see that these are massive, ambitious, world-changing, potentially world-changing projects. Things that the tiny TED team could not take on by itself. But the big, expanding TED community, of which we are all part, can. And because of the inspiration of an idea and of an individual sharing that idea, these kind of things start to happen. So a second way to help ideas spread and become relevant and potentially change makers is to create spaces around them so people can engage. And that space is, we at TED, we only really play the role of coordinators. We try to figure out what's needed to make that idea possible and realized, and then calling to the community to contribute what's needed. And the third element is letting others use our brand and our content and our methods to create their own community. And that's TEDx, of which you're all part today. TEDx started exactly 20 months ago. And the concept behind it is that anyone who shares the vision of TED and the intention of TED can apply for a license to organize an event like this one, a local event a la TED. Of course, it's Screen who gets the license. But once they receive the license, they're on their own. We at TED don't play any role in organizing a conference like this one today. We give the organizers a set of things. We give them a brand, the TEDx brand. We give them a toolkit, guidelines and instructions and suggestions on how would we select the speakers and create the program and design the stage and all these kind of things. We give them some content, the videos and so, but then they go out and do their event. We don't even ask to see the list of speakers before the event. We just trust them with our brand, our methods, and off they go. And the beauty of this is that when we started 20 months ago, we thought that we would have maybe 30 TEDx events around the world in the first year. And what has actually happened is that we have had already more than 800 all around the world, in places as diverse as the Amazon and Tokyo, or Jakarta and London. Dubai, there's a big X down in the corner, at NASA, in the House of the European Parliament. Big and small, very well organized, and just a group of friends coming together, in English or in local language or in a mix of the two. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that all these people, all these local organizers, are sharing the same passion, the same thirst for knowledge, for ideas, for community, for participating in this big conversation that keeps growing. And we at TED are just amazed every day by what comes back from the TEDx organizer. And by the way, this group here has done a great job today, so maybe they deserve an applause. And TEDx has gone into places that we never expected. This is Kibera. Kibera is the biggest shanty town in Africa. It's in Nairobi. 1 million people are said to be living there. And somewhere there in the middle, there is a shack that's actually a church. And in that church, in August last year, the first TEDx Kibera took place. This guy, Tony Ndungu, is an entrepreneur. He co-organized it, and then he also gave a speech. There was another speech. They watched a couple of videos. 50 people showed up. That was the first TEDx Kibera. In the meantime, there's been another one. And TEDx Kibera has become kind of a fulcrum of innovation and discussion about the future of Kibera, which may be a slum, but there is a TV station, radio station, a lot of economy going on, and so on. And this is, if it comes up, Fatehpur is a city of 50 or 60,000 in the middle of Rajasthan, India. Looks like any other Indian city, right? Well, there lives the family of Mazarat Dawood. Mazarat is a 29-year-old Muslim single woman. She was at TEDx Dubai last December, and I met her there, and she came up and said, Bruno, this is fabulous. We need to bring this back to Rajasthan. We need this in Fatehpur. And she went back and did it. She started calling up speakers from all around India, and they all said yes. And then she went to see the council of the local community school, asking for their venue to do her event. And they said no. And they said no because they were all men, and they were concerned that having a single young Muslim woman up on stage, introducing male speakers in front of a mixed audience may reflect badly on the school. She didn't give up. She kept organizing the event. She went to see the headmaster of the Hindi school, asking for his venue, and he said yes. And in January this year, 1,000 people showed up. And that's Mazarat introducing the speakers. And these are just two tiny stories of dozens I could tell you about all these TEDx events going on around the world, and all these fantastic, committed, passionate volunteer organizers taking the very concept of sharing ideas and participating in a conversation, taking it further around the world. And yet again, here too, we at TED don't really play any major role in organizing them other than giving them our brand, our content, our methods, our guidelines for free. The license is free. And magic things like this happen. So these are three of many elements I could have pointed out today. But they all come together in one major concept, which is what we have started to call at TED radical openness. And we're quite obsessive at TED about this idea of radical openness, which is the idea that you take what you used to consider your key assets, your brand, your recipes, your way of doing things, your handbooks, your content, and you give it away to the world, possibly for free. And if you do it right, what you get in return is the passion of thousands of people helping you make it bigger and better and larger, and expand and travel and spread. So, here is my message for you today. Be radical, be open, let ideas spread. Never underestimate the power of an idea shared with passion and of a story well told. Thank you.